Hello everybody and welcome to this video. And just before beginning it's going to be called Light of the World. I just wanted to make a few comments about some problems that we'd had in recent times because YouTube had started to use an automatic voice. We've disabled it, so it shouldn't happen anymore. But please be reminded that the French version comes out on the Friday and the English version comes out on the Wednesday. All right. Now, obviously, I know we've got people they're practicing their French or the French speakers practicing their English, and that's when you can get the muddle. But it's practically the same video. All right. And just thank you for your comments. We're aware of the problem and hopefully it's been resolved. Now, what I wanted to share today, I wanted to talk a bit about the light and the darkness because this morning I was speaking to the Lord and I was saying, where are we going in the nations? There's big storms and darkness going on all over the world. Lord, what's happening? And he started to show me some things. He started to show me some huge shafts of light. They weren't on the earth at all. It seemed that they were like in the air, in heavenly realms, and they were absolutely brilliant shafts of light. And when I looked closely, I could see people walking in them. And I thought, well, that has got to be a good thing to be able to do. At first, I thought it was angels. It's not angels. It's actually people. And I felt the Lord was saying that we were in a time now where the difference, it's not even prophetic to say it, the difference between the light and the darkness is becoming absolutely tremendous if you want to look at it. And as I looked, the shafts of light, I couldn't actually see. The light was so brilliant that my human eyes couldn't see what was going on. It was obviously the light of heaven. It made me think about the future Apostle Paul on the road to Damascus that day, that he's blinded by the light, the heavenly light surrounding Jesus, and he's actually physically blind for 3 days. And thankfully for all of us, particularly us Gentile Christians, he sees a lot better during the time of darkness than he ever did before. And I thought, wow, it's obvious that these people, they're carrying the light, a divine light, and they're able to walk in that light. And it seems that it's so bright, they weren't using their human eyes at all. It was the divine light of heaven. Everything that is truth, everything that is hope, everything that is clarity, and everything that is divine revelation, intelligence coming to the confusion on the earth. And before I had the chance to think about it even more, everything changed and I was suddenly plunged into a really deep darkness and could see over the world. I could see like dark clouds, but almost like a darkness that is palpable, that you could actually touch it. Then like a thick smoke that was really like inky. You could not see your hand in front of your face with this. And I started to think volcanic eruptions, war, all kinds of things, that this is happening in the nations. And it seemed that there was absolute chaos, the complete opposite of what I just seen, the people who were able to walk in the light, because the shafts of light they were walking in were penetrating this deep darkness. And I thought it will mean potentially governmental chaos, but I believe there will be some physical signs as well. We know about eclipses. You normally know when they're coming and the strangeness that can happen there when you get volcanic eruptions, and you have dramatic circumstances like that. The dust can be incredibly thick and you simply cannot see. And I thought, why, Lord, are you showing me this? And straight away, he took me to Exodus chapter 10 and verses 21, 22, 23. And this is during the judgment on the gods of Egypt. It's the battle going on with the Pharaoh who won't let the people go to worship, and Moses. And God here tells Moses to lift up his hand and call down a darkness on Egypt. And when he does, that darkness comes down. If you remember, you can check it yourself, for 3 days. It is not an ordinary darkness at all. You think of the darkness that came down at the crucifixion, but this darkness is so much that the Egyptians, they can't see their hands in front of their faces. Everybody's obliged to stay in their homes, and even there they can't see one another. Presumably they're having to feel around, except that in the homes of the children of Israel, they've still got light. Have you ever asked yourself, where did that light come from? Because I'm pretty sure the Egyptians knew how to light a candle or two. They certainly were an intelligent people. And I thought, wow, Lord. And I said, well, Lord, if this is what we are moving into, and we've got Hanukkah coming up. I'm very interested in Hanukkah this year. Why are you allowing this? And he said, well, the nations, he said, it's because they're going too far. They're calling the light darkness, and they're calling the darkness light, and the blind are leading the blind. And so it continues. And you reach a point where God will bring judgment. And remember, it is the Lord himself who's told Moses to stretch up his hand and to call down that darkness. That is some terrifying power to have, even though there may be something to do with clouds and storms and volcanoes and so on with it as well. It takes us right into what, if you like to call it end times, but in a time where God is really going to be showing his hand. And it reminded me very much, we can compromise. We walk in gray areas sometimes, and the Lord is saying, no, you've got to walk in the light. Jesus says himself, John chapter 12, verse 35, he says, make the most of my presence here. Walk in the light. It means to walk around, get used to walking on the ground where I am, because I am the light. I'm here. And while that light is there, because afterwards Jesus is physically going to be removed. And he goes on, of course, Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 and 14. He says, you are the light of the world. You're the salt of the world. You're the light of the world. And the salt without salt is absolutely useless. If you're called to be the light and you're compromising and playing with the darkness, your light is no good. But he wants us to be the sons and the daughters of light in these days. So we've got that divine truth, that divine knowledge that comes directly from God, not from our human eyes, but from our spiritual eyes, even though I do pray that you've got really good physical vision as well. You bring in the presence of God into dark, impossible situations where people can't see their hand in front of their face anymore. Those who are in fear and sin and confusion, you're bringing transparency and truth. Are we doing it? Because I'm beginning to question, well, Lord, how much am I doing that? And it goes on. I'd asked the Lord about the nations, what's happening in the nations. And he took me to Revelation chapter 21, verses 23 and 24, where you've got this beautiful vision of the temple. And you've got, there is no sun and there is no moon, there is no day and there is no night. And here the nations of the world are coming to bring their offerings. Now, the word that's used for nations isn't generally speaking for Israel. This is usually used for the Gentile nations. Those of the nations who've been saved are coming into the temple as well. And there is a total transparency. And the other thing, just before I finish, time will be no more, in a sense, because if you go back to Genesis, let's go to the beginning and then the end, where Genesis and Revelation join up. Why did God create the sun, the moon, and the stars and day and night? So people could tell what time it is. And we're moving into a time where we're going to have to be really, really clear about what it is that we're saying, what we need to know spiritually, what time is it? But we're moving towards that place where there won't be day or night anymore, where the nations, the Gentile nations who are coming to the light will be there as well, bringing their offerings. So I bless you. And may you walk in the light. May you have your own experience of walking in the light. And if the Lord wants to give you that experience of touching, like that deep, dark darkness that the Egyptians evidently experienced, he'll do that for you as well, because he is God and he needs us to understand not to compromise, so that people will know where to look for the truth. And it needs to be us who point straight away at he who is the light of the world. Be blessed.